In this video, we're going to talk about using cellular networks for accessing the internet and how to best attempt to maintain privacy and anonymity while using that cellular network. And I'm referring here to using a device like a laptop and some sort of 3G, 4G dongle that gives you access to the internet. So you will need a laptop and it needs to be running a secure operating system. That's because, as discussed, mobile devices, Android, iPhone, smartphones can't really be used for real work and serious privacy and anonymity. As the operating system, Qubes OS is recommended with Unix or Debian, or if you don't want to go quite that far, Debian and or virtual machines, guest machines. See the section on isolation for more information on that. So let's consider how to make the internet connection, the 3G or 4G connection. So the options include these. You can use a burner phone that has 3G or 4G, and that burner phone is connected into your laptop, maybe via a cable or potentially via Bluetooth, but cable is always preference. You can use a laptop that has a built-in internet capability where you can put a SIM card into that device. You can use a portable router that supports internet access. It has 3G, 4G capability, and connect that portable router to your laptop, preferably via Ethernet cable or via cable. Can be done via Wi-Fi. That is not preferable. You can get a 3G, 4G burner dongle and you can plug that directly into your laptop. That's an option, usually USB. And finally, a portable router that has a separate burner 3G, 4G dongle that's plugged into the router, and the router is connected to the laptop via a physical cable, usually a Ethernet cable into the LAN port. This final option is the best one, a portable router with a separate 3G, 4G dongle plugged into it and the router connected to the laptop. This is because you can easily and cheaply replace the burner dongle and SIM regularly, and even the router. The others are less safe, provide less isolation. I'll now go through the best ways to maintain security, privacy and anonymity while using this mobile device. A dongle is effectively a little phone, and I will use the term mobile device to refer to burner phones, dongles and other devices that connect to a cellular network. So here we are with burner phones and dongle tracking mitigations. We are assuming here that your adversary is of sufficient means and the consequences are high, and that the maximum precautions should be taken, and this is what they should be. First, you need to follow the OPSEC rules as usual that were laid out in that section. Should go without saying now. And of course, also you need to follow the advice in the section on physical isolation and virtualization, and all of the other advice in the course on security mitigations. But getting more specific now, you need to obtain the SIM and phone or mobile device anonymously, prepay anonymously, and how you do this will depend very greatly on where you live. In some places it's very easy, in some places it's very difficult. You should never reuse a SIM or mobile device. Whenever you use a mobile device and a SIM together, the mobile operator records an association between them. So you can't just swap SIM cards and swap phones. You need both a new SIM and mobile device every time you want to change the SIM or mobile device. Plus, use an anonymous prepayment method for your call credit. Don't carry different mobile devices together, especially if they are switched on. This creates easy associations and contamination between them. One phone should be associated with one alias. Follow the OPSEC advice on not contaminating aliases. Don't call or be called by the same people when using different devices and different aliases. Contacts should be specific to alias wherever possible. Always use secure messaging and VoIP apps as recommended in the messaging section instead of SMS and voice calls. We know how terminally insecure they are. Assume that all your SMSs and voice calls are listened to or read and operate from that perspective, because they absolutely can be. Use end-to-end encryption and authentication where possible with those third-party apps. But of course, this won't protect you from anyone who has control over your phone with, say, malware. Don't switch off or on separate mobile devices at the same time or in sensitive locations like where you live if you don't want to create that association. Don't create a physical association between the places where different devices are used. Switch them on and off in non-sensitive locations. And when you are accessing the internet with the mobile device and the dongle, you must still use anonymizing services. Using an anonymous mobile device is no substitute for an anonymous service. Continue to use encrypted tunnels, Tor, VPNs, John Donham, SSH, etc. in the way that I've taught you. This is because even with an anonymous mobile device, the IP and location of your mobile device is available to a number of people: your mobile operator, law enforcement, IMSI catchers, flying dirt boxes, third-party apps via SS7. So you must still use anonymizing services to create an extra layer of abstraction. Not using anonymizing services simply helps determine where you are, and you want to give as little information away as possible to reduce profiling. When it comes to buying your router and your mobile device, your hardware, you should attempt to buy them anonymously with cash. You should use different disposable mobile devices per alias and only carry one at a time. So if you're using a dongle as your connection, you should have one dongle per alias or per activity that you wish to keep separate. Disable built-in Wi-Fi cards and other wireless technology. Use Ethernet to connect to the router and or a cable wherever possible. If you're using Tor, and this might raise alarms, either don't use it or use as a minimum bridges and pluggable transports. SSH, VPNs, John Donham may raise less of an alarm, so use those instead. Or you could use these as your first hop before you use Tor. But whatever you use as your first hop, it should have no association to you. Make sure there is no money trail and connection back to you from that first hop. And very important, make sure there are no data leaks on your device. You don't want to before you establish your secure tunnel, for in the background you have some app sending out requests to the internet, unencrypted out of the tunnel. You should have a separate operating environment where possible for anonymous use like this. And to prevent these leaks, disable services, switch them off, and use a host-based application firewall with a specific profile for being on a mobile network. Never use Windows or Mac OS X as your OS. They do leak data, especially Windows. I've given you my recommendations of Cubes and Unix and Debian to give you better isolation. When you are connecting to the mobile network, connect at a distance from where you live or sensitive locations and vary that distance. Use cell towers in busy locations like town centres, the busier the better. And change the location of where you connect from with no pattern to that change, so you avoid repeating behaviour and patterns. Vary the times you connect to the network. And for those seriously worried, if you're making voice calls, use a voice changer. Avoid CCTV and cameras if possible. If you're in public, you may need to wear a disguise, but look normal and fit in. While you're using your internet connection, in order to prevent geolocation, it is better to keep moving if possible if you're worried about geolocation from within a vehicle, or change location periodically and use different locations and vary those locations that you connect from. Where you are located, sit where you can see people, no one behind you if possible. Sit where you can see someone coming so you can power off your device and discard encryption keys that might be in memory.